Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Mae.
I'm Max.
And I'm Ben, and we were had.
Can you believe it?
There are twists and there are turns.
Defleshed is a standard death.
Oh, that's fun.
We were had.
We were. Today we're going to talk about Jack the Ripper,
Who
was a serial killer in the south end of London, in Whitechapel, London, in 1888. Possibly from 1888 to 1891. Debated. There are 11 separate murders from 1888 to 1891 in this area. However, the canonical 5, which are the 5 that people are pretty sure were all from this whoever Jack the Ripper was, are just within a few month period in 1888.
Can I say only 5?
Yeah.
Most famous murder of all time. Only 5.
Yeah, who cares? That's rookie numbers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So a lot of the lore of Jack the Ripper has to do with the fact that the media kind of really, really sensationalized the whole story.
Yeah.
Well, because he was going after hooers, no?
Yes, prostitutes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. AKA hooers. Or sex workers if we want to, not get ourselves canceled.
Yes.
Because the people that will cancel us, definitely sex workers.
Yes. The hooers will come for us. Can I also ask this? Was he one of the first, or she? Were they one of the first serial killers?
Jill the Ripper, if you will.
Jill the Ripper.
The answer to that is no. There definitely were serial killers before, but I guess that this one, because of the fact that it was in this... By the way, it was East End of London. Sorry, not South End already. Already with the directions.
Bring it on, YouTubers.
Yeah, we're commenting.
I corrected myself.
Things.
I do feel like when we correct ourselves, no person that goes after us on YouTube notices that we corrected ourselves.
Yeah.
No, they don't care about that.
The problem is these people, they press play, they're waiting for us to make a mistake, and then they come, and then they comment something.
Also, why is anybody who's like these people think they know everything about a topic, so I'm like, why are you listening to our podcast then? Move on to a different topic.
There is no reason to listen to our podcast if you know more than us.
Well, so
right.
It's like you're either... The real reason is they're looking to call people out, because it's not like they're not looking to learn more.
Right.
Yeah.
You clearly know too much. Basically you did it.
Yes.
Yeah, there's not some... Also, like, what is an expert? Like, there's not some Harvard history professor who's going to listen to, 3 novices talk about the stuff. Like, they're experts in the sense that they're
Could you
like...
imagine if a large portion of our listeners were just like these high-end professors?
Yeah, I love the idea of like a late 19th century England history professor with like a pipe and a, ascot.
Yes, they're asking the tough questions about Jack.
If there was like a serial killer studies class, I would have majored in that. That would have been...
That's cool.
Oh, that would have been
Criminology.
great.
In serial killers.
Duh. Criminology.
People should really like study crime.
Yeah.
Actually break it down.
Forensics and stuff.
Oh,
There should
wow,
be
that's a good field.
How'd you just come up with that word? It's just a sound.
It doesn't mean anything. It hasn't been invented yet.
So Jack the Ripper was, in the East End of London. The reason why the title Jack the Ripper originated, it was a letter written by someone who claimed to be the murderer, calling himself Jack the Ripper. Although a lot of people
Why do they love writing letters to fucking
Well, I was just going to ask
newspapers?
you, was that the first one to happen that they're writing into the newspapers or no?
Was this the first letter written to the newspapers that claimed to be this murderer, or are you saying just in general?
A serial killer. Like, did he set that trend?
That's a good question. I don't know if he was the first, but it's definitely true that this coincided with like the rise of there were newspapers before, but the rise of like sensationalized journalism. And I also read a thing that said that there was some act passed in England like before that sort of improved the education of the common Londoner, so more people can read at this point. So like newspapers are really gaining popularity.
I'm buying this. If I live in this area and they're telling me there's a fucking Ripper out there.
Yeah.
Also, let me tell you something. There's a good chance that letter was fake.
There's a good chance
the letter was fake?
That's how you're pushing product. If
Yes,
I'm a managing editor, I'm like, I'm Jack the Ripper here. I'm going to strike again.
Yes, so that's a possibility. It's a possibility. Yes, I'm a newspaper editor. No, there is a possibility that it was faked specifically by the media.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, who are
so
trying
the
to...
fake media goes back to
Fake
1988.
news. Yeah. Looks like it didn't start in
lame
2016.
There's precedent. There are other letters that are sent in, just like with other murderers that we've talked about. Zodiac Killer for sure, right?
Yeah.
So the most famous letter, other than the one that is the one that gives us the name Jack the Ripper, is the, quote, "From Hell" letter received by George Lusk of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee. And this one is significant because it came with a half of a preserved human kidney.
Oh.
Which the author of the letter claimed to have fried and eaten the other half.
Ugh. So maybe a doctor that had access
I was
to
gonna
organs?
say, I hear preserved.
A lot of people think, so again, this letter is disputed whether it was really from one of the victims. However, some people think that it was either a butcher or a doctor, but that's more based off of like the
cuts.
precision of the cuts. Yeah.
That's happened so many times with serial killers
Yeah.
and murders. It's like the people that it's usually done by somebody who knows how to cut.
Yeah, there's a debate about it. I could skip ahead just a little bit. There was a police surgeon, Thomas Bond, strongly opposed to the idea that the murderer possessed any kind of scientific or anatomical knowledge, or even the technical knowledge of a butcher or horse slaughterer. However, they were still like one of the main suspects, these people. It was also Bond who said that the attacks of...
This is James Bond?
This is James. Well, actually, this is earlier. This is James Bond's father.
Yeah, this is James Bond. James Bond.
Yeah.
And so wait a minute, the kidney, because they keep going back to the butcher thing. It is a human kidney. It's not an animal kidney.
No, it's definitely a human kidney.
Okay,
The question is whether it's one of these 11 murder victims or
Yeah.
specifically one of these 5 murder victims. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. And here's the thing: is the police? What expertise is this guy saying this with? Back then, it's all a guess.
It's true. Yeah,
Hunches.
a lot of it seems very. Yeah, exactly. There's a reason why this guy was never caught.
Right.
It's tough.
So the canonical 5, their names were Marianne Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, I think I'm pronouncing that right, and Mary Jane Kelly. I believe they were all prostitutes. I could be wrong about that. Most of them were, at least.
Yeah, definitely.
And the reason why they assume that these 5, or are pretty sure that these 5 were all murdered by the same person, part of it has to do with the location and the time period. They were all very close together in time periods, but also the way that these people were killed: slash wounds to the throat, followed by extensive abdominal and genital area mutilation, removal of internal organs, and progressive facial mutilations.
Oh.
And I think I'll spare us like on a lot of pages, Wikipedia pages, but like also just like information on Jack the Ripper, they go into details about exactly the details of it, but these are the general
Is the modus operandi the facial thing? Is that when they do the smile? They cut the Black Dahlia hat?
Modus operandi just means like your general way of doing your job.
What
Their
was it
mode of
called when they
operation.
cut- almost like your MO.
Yeah, you're at. Yeah. You mean from the Black Dahlia case?
Yeah, the one where he cut like the slits.
smile?
Yeah,
The
sort of
Joker
like-
thing.
Yeah.
There
I'm
was a
sure that
word
there
for
is a
that
term for
specifically,
it.
but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's the
interesting.
case here.
Okay.
Maybe slash wounds to the throat.
Yeah,
No,
and
that's
also
different.
the Black Dahlia also had a lot of these same things. Like obviously her internal organs were removed because she was cut in half, and the
Facial.
genital mutilation too.
Yeah, for sure.
Model.
So there are a few things here, little kind of hints along the way about who this guy possibly could be.
What kind of a neighborhood were we talking about here?
So, I could talk about the neighborhood for a second. So basically, it is a like really, really poor neighborhood.
Okay.
And overcrowded area. I read a stat that said 55% of children born in the East End died before they were 5 years old.
wow.
Jesus.
Lots of tensions between many different ethnic groups in the area. So there's also possibly pinning it on one ethnic group that you're, against, and we can get into that a little bit.
Do you know the ethnicities of the victims? Are they all?
Of the
Those are white
victims. Of the victims, that's a good question.
But they could be like
definitely-
Irish. I don't know.
Oh.
A lot of
Yeah.
Irish immigrants that would at this time. There was an event called Bloody Sunday. There are a few Bloody Sundays in history, but one called Bloody Sunday, which was a year before these events started, which was a big conflict between the Irish and the British police, mainly. And so tensions are high in this area, and it's a very, very poor. And in October 1888, London's Metropolitan Police Service estimated that there were 62 brothels and 1,200 women working as prostitutes in Whitechapel in this
small town.
neighborhood. Yeah,
It's big business.
yeah.
Well, then 5 out of that is kind of actually pretty good numbers.
yeah, not bad. Like I said, rookie numbers.
Yeah. You got to throw a knife, you're going to hit one.
Yeah.
So the little clues along the way, we can just go into them sort of quickly. At the inquest into Chapman's murder, that was the second woman killed of the canonical 5. There was a woman who saw Chapman standing outside 29 Hanbury Street at about 5:30 a.m. in the company of a dark-haired man wearing a brown deerstalker hat, I'm not sure what that is, and dark overcoat, and of a shabby, genteel appearance, which is a weird combination. That's almost an oxymoron. But
yeah.
Like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
he's not genteel.
No, he's not genteel.
What's genteel mean?
Like proper.
Yeah, proper. Like
Shaggy
suits.
from Scooby-Doo.
It's like if Shaggy and Scooby were one person.
Yeah, Scooby's a little gentleman.
Actually, it is a little bit like if Shaggy and
Fred
were one person.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay. We've all just...
Shaggy and Fred appearance. Moving on. Okay.
And several witnesses later informed police that they had seen Stride, so Stride would be the third victim, in the company of a man in or close to but each of the people gave differing descriptions. Some said that her companion was fair, others dark. Some said that he was shabbily dressed, others well-dressed. So it's like a bunch of this.
But if
It's
they're-
just a bunch of different Johns.
But
probably.
here's the thing. If they're prostitutes, they're going to be in the company of a man.
Exactly. So I don't
Right.
even know if these people were the murderer, even, I mean, just because they were in the company of the person somewhat similar
That's
to the
tough.
time.
That's tough.
I have a section here. So, okay. So then this goes to like the different ethnic battles within the town. So a section of Edo's bloodied apron, I believe Edo's was number 4, were found at the entrance to a tenement in Gulston Street. A chalk inscription upon the wall directly above the piece of the apron read, "The Jews," spelled Juwes, I'm not sure, "are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." And this is called the Gold Street Graffito. The message appeared, basically it's implying that Jews were responsible for it.
Oh. Well, you guys have to be thrown in there at some point, don't you think?
Yeah. I'm surprised it took this long.
Yeah.
And actually, if you go through a lot of the suspects, and there are over 100 suspects for this, so we're going to be had. Just
Yeah.
spoiler.
We were had.
Yeah. But a lot of the suspects are Jewish, which I think just makes sense. I think there were a lot of Jewish immigrants in this area at this time.
All right.
And that's the easiest thing for the cops to just blame it on the local most hated
Jews,
ethnicity.
Irish, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I bet it wasn't somebody in one of those groups, and that's why they got away with it. You know?
Well, another thing
Could it have been a wealthier man?
Another thing that's suspected is that it was a wealthier person who came to this poor neighborhood for prostitutes, I guess.
Right.
A wealthy pervert doctor
Yeah.
came to town trying to look shabby, but he's actually genteel, and he's slashing throats because he's a pervert.
It's possible.
Or doctress.
I
Or
think
a
we've
woman.
referenced my bit several
Every episode, it's a great bit.
Thanks. That and Casertano are the recurring.
Yeah. This area was very dangerous.
That one's just for us. My friend Carl, I was talking to him earlier, another inside baseball, but I was talking to him about the podcast, and I was like, oh, I love doing it. He was like, yeah, sometimes it does feel like sometimes it's like very funny for you guys.
Oh, that's mean.
He's right.
He's right.
We have I take it as a positive review.
Yeah,
we're having a good time.
No, he was like, most of the time it's like, oh, this is great. And then sometimes he's like, I don't know what they're talking about, but they're really enjoying what they're talking about.
Try to follow, Carl.
Keep up.
Should know who these obscure comedians
You don't know
are.
Casertano?
Yeah.
That's on us.
You ever read the news, Carl?
I guess you canceled Netflix.
So the investigation was pretty whatever. I mean, they definitely investigated it a lot. This was like a huge deal, both because of the papers, but also just because it was like a
How
crazy
many
story.
cops are working the beat? Like,
They said that over 2,000 people were interviewed for being, or like more or less investigated. I'm not sure cops-wise, but in terms
is
of like people they
prostitution
suspected.
illegal?
Is what? Sorry.
Is it illegal to prostitute
Yes.
at this time?
Oh,
in
that's a
this
good
area?
question.
I would guess, right?
I don't know.
I don't know the
Yeah.
answer.
I don't know the answer either.
I would guess yes too, but I don't know the answer for sure.
It's just a guess. It's definitely frowned upon. I would also guess.
It's a hypothesis, but it's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
One thing that's kind of interesting when it comes to investigating stuff is that most of the files relating to the original investigation were destroyed in the Blitz, which
Everything gets destroyed.
Yeah.
They never keep the files on serial killers.
Yeah, well, this wasn't their fault. I mean, so the Blitz is basically during World
I'm
War
familiar
II.
with the Blitz.
What's the Blitz?
The Blitzkrieg, the German offensive from the Nazis. I know my history.
You definitely know, but Carl probably doesn't. Carl's lost. Sorry. But yeah, so destroyed 50. So that would be like 50 years later. But yeah,
They were bombing the poors. The poor people can't catch a break.
I thought you said they were bombing the Jack the Ripper investigation. That's what Hitler was after.
Hitler was trying to. This was Hitler.
Yeah,
Hitler was Jack the Ripper.
They can't find out.
He was a painter, then a serial killer,
His
then a
spotless
dictator.
reputation besides being Jack the Ripper.
Oh, blamed it on the Jews, actually. One more point for it being Hitler.
Yeah, could be it. Hitler born in 1889, just 1 year out. Listen, if we're calling Ted Cruz the Zodiac Killer, it's no
Yeah,
inconsistency.
was Ted Cruz Jack the Ripper? Something to think about.
Something about
One thing that I found kind of consistent with some of the other things that we were learning is that there is a word called ripperology. Just the study of
Similar
Jack the
to
Ripper.
Atlantology.
Yep. And there are many varied theories about the identity of Jack the Ripper. Authorities are not agreed upon any of them, and the number of named suspects reaches over 100. So,
wow.
I feel like there were
lot.
more D.B. Cooper suspects.
no, not over 100.
There were a lot. And for that and fucking Zodiac, they had so many different. Black Dahlia, so many different things. It's like not that crazy.
I guess, but I think the thing here
Well,
is
I mean,
that
when you talk about per capita, 100 suspects in a small town is a large portion of
yeah,
it.
and
That's
the other
true.
thing that I would add is just that with those, there are like, I would say a top 5 or a top 10 most likely. With this one, it just seems like this was over 100 years ago.
So
we just don't know.
These names that you picked out, they're just the most fun to pronounce?
They were Aaron Kosminski. Yeah, they have some fun names.
Montague's the next. I like that one. Yeah, that's fun.
Montague has a first name.
Yeah,
it's pretty
come on,
good.
that's powerful.
Yeah, that's cute. I like that.
Monty's a fun
Montague
name.
John Druitt. They were high up on the list, I guess, in terms of like most likelihood. But the other thing is that I picked them based off of like there's some just interesting backstories.
Cool.
All right, let's hear them.
Let's get into it.
Aaron Kosminski, we'll go with him first. Born sometime between 1864 and 65 in Russia, settled in London in the early 1800s. He was Jewish and was living and working as a hairdresser in
For women?
the time of the Jack the Ripper. I don't know. He's Zohan. He's Jewish.
Hey, let me tell you something. You don't mess with the Zohan.
You do not. Apparently had a very strong hatred of women.
Who
Oh,
doesn't?
God. What, May. Just in case you didn't catch that, he's gesturing towards May, who hates women famously.
That's my shtick.
I love this in quotes. Had homicidal tendencies, which
What does that really
While
mean?
he was giving somebody a shave, he would just kind of hold it there for just a minute.
Oh,
he just tended to do it.
Just tended to.
Yeah.
Well, I could see, here working as a hairdresser, closeted homosexual, hates women,
why is he a closeted homosexual?
hairdresser.
Oh, hairdresser. Duh. yeah.
And mitochondrial DNA was found on Catherine. So there's like some DNA, more modern stuff going on, but it was dismissed. And this guy died in an asylum, by the way. This guy was pretty out there.
Okay.
His insanity took the form of auditory hallucinations, a paranoid fear of being fed by other people, a refusal to wash or bathe, and self-abuse.
Oh.
Paranoid individuals such as Kosminski would likely have openly. One argument against the fact that it was him is that someone who had the psychological disorders of him would most likely be bragging about the murders.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
here I go ripping again. I'm the Ripper.
And also, this mitochondrial DNA, obviously they couldn't test it back in the day, so they held on to stuff and then tested it recently. Okay.
It's gotta be, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Old ass dry blood.
How would they even know to save that? You know what I mean? But yeah.
Everything else got burned up, but they had a scrap of skin from old Catherine.
Skin, clothing.
Oh,
I don't know.
all right. Montague.
right.
Number 2, Mr. Montague John Druitt. I don't know why I call him Mr. Like it's so like he might be Jack the Ripper.
Sir Montague John Druitt.
My fellow. Yeah. He was a barrister. Pretty fancy.
What's that?
Like a lawyer.
Oh.
Oxford-educated man
Wow.
from a fairly good family, according to the article that I read. I don't know why they put that in
His
quotes.
family's like, all right.
Okay, we were fine.
Yeah.
I like he said, although some people believe that he was sexually insane.
What the hell does that mean?
Why
Just
although?
having a kink?
Yeah, and also like why although
if you
he's like
come
a
from
lawyer, but he
That's
had
the problem with
sex.
this.
Yeah.
Is that the real problem with classism? I mean, back then, but still, of course. But like someone from a good family couldn't possibly commit these murders. Could only be a deviant, poor soul,
Yeah.
immigrant.
Oh, of course. And that's a big part of this like whole story. And I think it's a big part of why this story remains relevant today. Because
Yeah.
as you said, it's not about the numbers.
Right.
Let me tell you something. I would very vehemently argue that idle hands are more likely to rip throats. The rich.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen The Undoing?
No.
Oh, that
The
was
Hugh
good.
Grant one?
Yeah.
Don't want to give away the ending,
Still
but
no.
Hugh Grant did it.
Is he actually?
Yeah.
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 It was very good, though. You don't see it coming.
Well, I guess.
But then you're
that
like,
was a recent show. That's a big spoil.
yeah, you see it. You don't see it coming. Then you're like, I guess I did see it the whole time.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
way of putting it. It's
Yeah.
like he's the most obvious choice.
But you're like, it obviously
but
can't
because
be
he's
him.
obvious, right.
No, I'll do it.
So this guy Montague, born in Dorset, worked as an assistant schoolmaster in Blackheath, London. Many
just
experts
that.
believe Druitt was behind the murders, as they are convinced that Jack the Ripper was a Whitechapel local, so he was in this area. And he was, I guess that doesn't really narrow it down. And he was also seen in the Whitechapel area around the time of Jack the Ripper murders. Okay, again,
Yeah, whatever.
Let's
So-
hone in a little bit here.
Yeah.
On November 9th, 1888, 7 weeks after the murder of Mary Jane Kelly, who was the last one, Druitt's body was found floating in the Thames. Investigators believe that the cause of death was suicide and that he had been at the bottom of the river for at least several weeks around the time of Mary Jane Kelly's murder. So I guess the theory that it was a murder-suicide, at least the fifth one.
Interesting. And I don't know if you know any of this, but like, was he tied to anything? Because people can't like drown themselves. They have to like have a cinder block on their feet or
That
something.
I don't know. That's definitely true, but that I don't know.
Your body will like literally not allow you to.
Yeah,
do it.
your
It's
body won't
crazy.
allow you to do it. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you still, if you're out there, you're eventually going to stop being able to swim.
Right, but that's the thing. It's got to. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like
If
you
you
can't
just
doggy paddle
jump
anymore.
in.
Yeah,
I can't imagine the Thames had a lot of safe exits.
for sure.
Yeah.
But it's definitely true that you can't just be like, all right, gonna kill myself now, duck
Right.
under, and
Drowning.
then- yeah.
Here I go drowning.
Yeah.
Some modern authors suggest that Druitt may have been dismissed because he was homosexual, and that this could have driven him to commit suicide. Oh yeah, the fact that he committed suicide because he was a closeted gay person. Is that what they're saying?
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Okay. And then there are some inspectors that like dismiss it. Coincidental timing of the suicide is not a big deal. I don't really get the big deal with Montague. Maybe some of our fans can write in.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why people said he was sexually insane, because he was gay.
Because he was gay. Oh, that makes sense.
For sure. And then I think also a lot of people believe that all these murders were like sexually driven. So maybe the fact that he was gay, oh no, I guess that would
Yeah.
make it less likely that he killed.
Right.
women.
That's in my mind, at least. Because why
Right.
would he target women and look at their genitals? They're gross.
This guy was like towards the top of most of the list that I saw in terms of, well, I don't know about likelihood, but like just he's up there.
Let me tell you something. He's kind of wealthy. If you're closeted and told you're insane, I think you end up resenting women.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and people are divided about the fact that there was like a sexual nature to this.
Yeah, I don't really see why there would be. The only thing that would point them in that direction is because they're all, prostitutes.
Let me tell you something.
All
All I'm
prostitutes
saying-
and also a lot of the disgusting stuff having to do with
A lot of
like,
SVU
hurting their
stuff
genitals.
on
Yeah.
Law and Order SVU, ripped from the headlines. A lot of them were a lot of the crimes against women were by men who like hated themselves. You know,
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Not happy folk.
not a happy folk. You know, these people that are doing these sexually based crimes that are considered especially heinous, usually not doing well. You know,
Yeah.
not
yeah.
happy.
That's the common thread.
Yeah,
typically,
usually not like doing well.
Big theory by Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're brave for saying that. Wow.
He's no ripperologist, but I think that he can put two and two things together. So this next guy we'll talk about, Walter Sickert. This person wasn't really mentioned until a book came out by this guy, Donald McCormick, in 1959 called The Identity of Jack the Ripper. I kind of just included this to illustrate that suspects are just piling up since
Let me
it
tell you
happened.
something. If you're writing a book, there's so many books about this shit. You're kind of just picking a name out of it and then just kind of clinging to anything that could have said it was him or her.
Well, let's hear why he thinks it. Walter Sickert.
All right,
Or
so this
Donald
guy,
McCormick, I mean.
German guy born in Munich, emigrated with his family to London when he was only 9 years old. This one, I remember why I chose this one. He was known for painting prostitutes. He was a painter, known for painting prostitutes. And some believe that he used to insert clues and symbols about Jack the Ripper murders in his artwork. Some experts suggest that the clues are so similar to the actual crime scenes that only the true murderer could have painted them.
Oh.
He would paint dead hookers?
I guess he would. Well, I don't know if he would paint dead.
Who's buying that? This
Have you never
dead
been
hooker
to
would
the
look-
Met?
Yeah.
It's a lot of dead hookers.
This dead hooker would look great
Like,
over my
I don't know
couch.
why, but this painting of a dead hooker makes me think that this guy might have had something to do with these dead murders.
Or it's just like a very modernist painting where it's just like dots and stuff, and it's just like, is that
Dead
I think that's a dead
prostitute?
Yeah.
Guys, we ordered Greek food. I need to grab that. Hold on one sec.
Please.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, May and I will just continue the conversation
Yeah.
about paintings of dead hookers. But yeah, this guy. So it's kind of, I don't really know exact.
Wow, it's a lot of activity.
A
Continue.
lot of stuff going on. I don't know. I don't know if this was just because of. I don't even know what painting stuff. I think people just like these like Da Vinci Code style things. where
I
they
think so too,
Piece
yeah.
together paintings.
Yeah. It is weird. I'll give him that.
It was also believed that Sickert was impotent after having several sexual. Oh, not. I was about to say sexual surgeries. The surgeries were platonic. Several surgeries on his penis.
Why?
Experts have suggested that Jack the Ripper may have had some kind of impotence problem.
Yeah. That does make sense why you'd like
Couldn't get
fuck
hard.
up someone's genitals because, you know.
Many serial killers throughout history have been proven to be impotent or suffer from sexual problems as the act of killing becomes their only means of sexual fulfillment.
And there's also that weird thing where like, didn't Hitler have something wrong with his dick?
Not dick. I think he had one ball.
He had
Isn't that the rumor?
something wrong with his balls.
Might
I
just
don't
be
know.
a rumor, but I'm not sure.
But yeah, that's true that a lot of serial
Guy's got
killers
big
have something
chode
wrong with
energy,
their
I'll tell you
dicks.
that.
Right. And of
Yeah.
course, Napoleonic complex, right? A lot of
Right,
these
right.
people, that has to do with your actual height, but probably can extend to
But
the dick.
Napoleon, wasn't he famously not that short, actually? They just said in the history books kind of did
No,
that
I think
to
he
him.
was pretty fucking short. I think he was like shorter than me.
You were 6'2".
I'm curious. Napoleon height? Is that really not a...
I thought that I heard that somewhere. That might be one of our episodes.
No, he's really short.
His penis is like preserved.
Where did
Yeah.
they have his dick?
Oh, you're right. 5'6". I mean, not ridiculous.
Especially
Oh,
for
that's
back
not
then.
crazy, yeah.
I think that the history books, because like the history is told by the victors, like I think just to further humiliate the man.
Yeah. Or maybe he lied to everybody and just said he was 5'6". You know how people do that?
It was on his dating profile.
yeah. I'm 6 feet tall.
General in the French army, 5'6".
Yeah.
Maximilian Robespierre, the French revolutionary who came right before Napoleon, 5'3". That's
Wow.
small.
That's
That's
small.
a tiny guy.
I think also James Madison, really tiny American president. I think he was
could
like
tell.
5'4".
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can tell. Anyway, back to Cornwall.
Which is crazy. I feel like presidents now, you could never elect a 5'4" president.
No, people like tall people,
Nah,
which
like
is
be a
weird.
short per-
Yeah.
I think that was like one of the main reasons that people didn't trust Fauci that much. He's a tiny guy. Kind of looks like a loaf.
I trusted him.
He looks mischievous.
Yeah, who didn't trust him? I guess people
like a lot
online.
of conservative
yeah.
people.
A
yeah,
lot of
you're right.
conservative people may.
Yeah. I don't think it was the height. I think it was
I
the
trust
Italian
him. I'm
thing.
just not wearing a fucking mask anymore, and he can't tell me that I have to. Bye.
Yes.
So, Sickert, again, there was some DNA analysis that had been sent. Experts believe those letters to be fake. Oh, DNA analysis on some letters that apparently was linked to Sickert. But again, people debunk almost all of these theories.
Okay.
Okay.
Francis Craig.
Craig.
In recent years, many ripperologists have stated that Mary Jane Kelly's husband, this guy, was behind all the Jack the Ripper killings.
One of the victims?
The husband of one of the prostitutes.
Yes, the
Oh, fuck
last.
that.
First of all, we're calling
victim
this,
of the five.
all those women might not have been prostitutes. That's I would like to stop saying that. I apologize.
It's fine. Whatever.
It's like a thing, though. Jack the Ripper killed prostitutes.
Killed
Like, I
prostitutes.
just kind of went into it assuming it. But I didn't check individually whether each one was a prostitute. It just says on the Wikipedia page, it just says typically involved female prostitutes. So
Okay.
So
I
some
don't
of
know
them
if it's all.
wouldn't
So
have been.
why Craig?
So Craig was working as a reporter at the time of the murders and was even covering the police courts and inquests on the Whitechapel murders, as well as other crimes in London's East End. He lived in Whitechapel on Mile End Road, which is just 7 minutes away from the first Jack the Ripper murder scene. And in 1884, he married Elizabeth Weston Davies, who is believed to have been a prostitute who went by the name of Mary Jane Kelly.
Oh.
Theory suggests that once Craig discovered his wife was working as a prostitute, she went into hiding in the East End under a pseudonym. Craig started plotting her murder, but disguised his involvement by killing other prostitutes in the area beforehand.
Wow.
Oh.
That's how impressionable I am. If you say any new theory, I'm like, well, it's this one.
Yeah, I'm going in order of ridiculousness to make you eventually get.
Yeah, well, I'm like, it's
Yeah.
got to be this one.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a
Makes sense
whole-
why it was only 5 and then stopped then.
Yeah, and she would be the last one.
But how much do you want to kill your wife that you're willing to kill 4 other
That you're
people
willing to kill
just to kill your wife?
get people off the scent. Is that the idea? 'Cause
I
That's
feel
the
like
idea,
1 or
yeah.
2 could have done it.
Because if she came up dead alone, then they would obviously be like, the husband did it, clearly.
Yeah.
You know?
does make sense. Although it is hard to get away with murder.
Right. I mean,
So-
now it is. Then it was wicked easy. You just go around killing someone and get the hell out of there.
Yeah. All right.
Last one, whose name I genuinely can't pronounce. Serwin, I'm going to try it. Serwin Klasowski, but he has a easy alias, George Chapman.
Great.
And
Let's lead with that one next time, George, huh?
well, he did.
Yeah. All right.
He changed it to George Chapman. That was his stage name. So poisoned 3 of his wives and became known as the Borough Poisoner. So this guy's already like a
He's a serial guy.
He's-
bad
an
man.
asshole, yeah.
So much so that he was hanged for his crimes in 1903. At the time of the Ripper murders, he lived in Whitechapel, London, where he had been working as a barber under the name, we got another name, Ludwig Schlossky.
Man, this is a shitty neighborhood. They got a fucking poisoner. They got a ripper.
But they also have hairdressers.
Yeah, they have a lot of hairdressers.
Well, here's the thing. A barber makes sense.
Yep,
Oh,
Sweeney
they-
Todd.
Barbie Razor.
Sweeney
The
Todd.
demon Barbie. Barbie.
the
The demon Barbie. Of your
shrimp
toy
on the
box.
bar.
One more, please.
That's my last suspect that we're going to mention here. I'm sure that there are going to be YouTube commenters that are going to be like, well, what about,
Why would he be a poisoner and then also be a slasher?
Good question.
Yeah, he wouldn't change his
Change
MO.
his modus operandi, we all know. Or
Well, I
MO.
will read the last sentence
Yes.
of my notes. However, others disagree that Chapman is a likely culprit as he murdered his 3 wives with poison.
Yeah.
And it is uncommon, though not unheard of, for a serial killer to make such a drastic change in modus
Operandi. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think maybe he invented a new MO each time he changed his name? The Schlossky
Oh.
was...
Yeah, I mean, this guy...
Schlossky
yeah.
was a ripper. Chapman was a poisoner. Kolosowski, we don't even want to talk about what he did.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that makes sense to me.
Listen, so you walked away from this. You don't have a strong inkling at anybody who did it.
I don't have a strong inkling of anyone who did it. There are a few mysteries within the mystery, one being, are all 11 committed by the same person, or is it just the first 5? So that's a fun little thing. There's also a mystery of how much the media inflated what was going on.
Copycats. Maybe you're waiting to start up killing, then you kind of go
True.
kill.
Yeah.
But here's my question for you. If it's this highly publicized, poor neighborhood, happening here, wouldn't they put more cops or bobbies on the beat if this is happening? How did they keep getting away with it?
Well, there
think
definitely were a lot of cops in the area. I think this area was just, I mean, it just sounds like
tough.
the worst neighborhood.
It does not sound
It
like
was
a
just
place you
shitty,
wanna
yeah.
move, yeah.
I like this Craig guy. I got my eyes on this Craig
Cra-
because
yeah,
if
Craig.
he was working as a reporter at the time of the murders, then he also could have written the letter, which is nice, and had like an inside job to get more, whatever eyeballs on his newspaper. And I think it makes sense to kill all these other people and to get the scent off of him.
Right.
And probably at the time, and still like fucking right now, people don't. Whenever you see like a true crime thing about prostitutes, people act like they're like less dead because they were a prostitute. You know what I mean? They're like,
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so he's
with all
probably
this-
like, no one's going to come after me. I'm just going to like, as long as it's not just my wife that shows up dead, but I'll just kill these other people that aren't really people.
I'm gonna go with the guy who was painting dead prostitutes. That was kind of
interesting. I'm going to go with the hairdresser. Who's the hairdresser?
well, there was a barber, but the hairdresser was the guy who hated women, famously, Kosminski, no?
I'll go with him.
Yeah.
All right.
Was that the Jewish guy?
That
Yeah,
was,
it was Jewish.
I went with the
Eat
Jewish
your
guy.
own, huh?
Wow.
I thought you were going to say the opposite. I thought you were going to say like, oh, he's favoring the Jewish guy. It's like, no, it's Jack the Ripper.
You guys want all the credit for everything,
Yeah.
huh?
The weather, the ripping, the media.
All right. Well,
Well, kind of the media in this case.
That's- yeah.
I mean, we got ripped.
We got ripped.
Oh, we got ripped.
We were had.
Had and ripped.
Ripped.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.